Our east coast hops took us into places like Harwich. And our final call, actually, before we left England, was Lowestoft. Can be seen actually approaching Lowestoft. It was interesting here because the Round Britain yacht race was being held at the time, and we saw some of the vessels in this harbour as they called in to make their call. Find Lowestoft a particularly nice place, but at least it offered some place where we could lie for the night, ready for our voyage across the North Sea. Some of the crew were very lucky that evening because they were able to go up in a helicopter. A local scouter there was also the customs officer, and he arranged a 5-minute flight for them. It was very exciting, as we heard when they came back. Now that preparations are being made after leaving. Have to be sure that everything's set for a long voyage. Has to remember that there's not only the sails and the rigging and so on to think of, but one has to also remember that food has to be stowed properly, water has to be on board, fuel, and everything that might be necessary for several days' run. After all, once at sea, you have to look after yourself. Now, the decision hadn't really finally been made that we were going to Norway. We hoped we would. We hoped the weather would hold good for us. We always had that second string that we might turn off to starboard and finish up in Holland. However, we were very fortunate. The wind was about force 3 to 4 to start with. It was coming from the northwest. It meant that it was coming over the beam, over the port beam, and it was an absolutely magnificent wind to make the long leg up to the Norwegian coast. If you're going to keep a boat at sea for several days, the crew have to form up into watches. In fact, had 3 watches, 4 hours, so that each person had 4 hours on watch and 8 off. So amazed how well these watches worked. How quickly the time passed. About 200 miles from Lowestoft, we noticed some towers on the horizon. thought it would be an admirable opportunity to verify our position. So we called up, as you can see, the Ecofist oil fields, asked them if they could see us and if they could give us a fix. They did for us very quickly. I forget when this is now, but probably I think it must be day 2 at sea. Maybe later. Soon we'd left the Ecofist oil fields behind us. Wind strengthened a little. Speed was absolutely magnificent. We seemed to be making an average of just over 6 knots. It means at times Seven Kings was sailing her maximum speed. Something we should always remember, we suddenly sighted something on the water, and as you will have seen there was some rope on deck. When we got up to this thing that we saw in the water, it happened to be the rope, and we hauled it aboard, and it was a wonderful addition to our locker. The movement on board the vessel, the crew managed to cook, wash up and so on, so that everybody kept reasonably fit and able to do the work on board. I must confess that perhaps towards the end we did miss out on 1 or 2 meals and made do with some biscuits and so on. This didn't matter at the time. As we approached Norway, the weather became very, very much rougher. In fact, it was so rough that when 3 of the boys went onto the upper deck to take the main down to reduce sail, they had to be ordered to stay there until they were told to come back. The crew thought they were going to have to spend another night at sea. After some help from the radio of Norway, we managed to find our way in. Here we are in the fjord around Stavanger. We had, of course, had previous correspondence with the Norwegian scouts. And the fact that you can see, will have seen the Seven Kings photographed sailing is because they had the camera at the time. View is taken from their ship, Norway. Evening we were taken on a very, very long car ride. Have a look at some of the magnificent scenery. After this magnificent trip, went to the house of one of the scouts. There we had a meal which was absolutely terrific. The table was spread for the whole length of the room, and about 20 to 24 of us sat down to eat. Fortunately, the Norwegian parents couldn't speak English, so we could only smile and shake hands and so on to indicate that we were very pleased and grateful for their kindness. After a couple of days or so, we decided that we would go and see one of the fields. The name of this field was Lisa Fjord. This local area was considered to be one of the best. Much of the journey had to be made using the motor, because once amongst the mountains, it was very difficult to get a good sailing wind. Magnificent day. The scenery was breathtaking. Managed this photograph by coming away in the dinghy. Though we were only a few feet from the shore, it was absolutely impossible to find the bottom with the lead line. It was so deep. Leaving the field, had to turn round because there just wasn't enough time to get right the way to the top. Only we had some more hours, some more days, maybe we could have gone a lot further up and seen a lot more. We had a long journey to make, and a lot more to see on the southern coast. At one point, just for a bit of fun, we took Seven Kings alongside the mountain. Here you can see just how close we were. Couldn't believe it, but even here, we could not find the bottom. It was so deep.
Och slik skall du I minne alltid stå, som en gang hos mor og far, da jeg glad og sorgfri var, I min barndoms gode gamle gård på tå.
One doesn't only go to see the scenery, watch the mountains and so on in Norway, but also to see the town. You're amazed to find that practically all the buildings in Stavanger are made of wood. Some of them are very old and extremely beautiful. Seen looking from Stavanger over the fjord, over the you can see many hundreds of islands.
Här vandret far och mor till appensången.
Stavanger noticed that we had arrived, and in fact a reporter came to see us, and a picture was published of Seven Kings and the crew, and a story about our visit to Stavanger. Here you can see some of these lovely houses. The oldest part of Stavanger.
I min barndoms gode gamle går på slätten. Slik det minne som jeg vil bevare. Slik var den verden som jeg levet i. Den var mitt vern mot hver en ukjent fare. Urokkelig, men tiden gled forbi. Nå leder alle stier til det fjerne. Mot ukjent mål jeg bare går og går. Men når vandringen slutt, skal jeg en gang hvile ut. I min barndoms gode gamle går på sletten.
Days pass in a most leisurely fashion. Probably made each day about 20 or 30 miles. Most of the weather was extremely good. The Norwegians told us at the time that they were having their worst weather, but if that was their worst, then it's far better than we have in England. Quite amazing how well the crew worked together. Hardly a cross word spoken, the whole of the cruise. Many little jobs had to be done, and here you can see them trying to untangle the ensign. Usually do it by putting someone up the mast. This is in one of those lovely anchorages. Now we're completely alone, the fishermen have gone. It was here that we took a walk ashore, scrambling over the rocks, climbing high up until we could see Seven Kings lying there in the quiet water. Navigation, although you might think it was difficult, was in fact very easy, provided you kept track of all the islands that you were passing. Channels were marked with sort of arrows. They were either pointers on top of metal poles or pointers on top of brick, sort of brick towers. Progress south, of course, the mountains became much lower. Scenery less spectacular, but nevertheless pretty. Very fortunate in that the Norwegians loaned us these charts. Without them, we would never have known the inshore routes. We are approaching one of the towns on one of the islands, a town called Kirkhaven, Church Harbour. And you can see why it was called Church Harbour, because here is this magnificent white wooden church. We went for a walk here, but actually didn't anchor there that night, but just went a few miles away into a little fjord on the mainland. You can see from the chart here how we went. This little place here where you can see the anchor. We weren't really alone here, because when we got there, we were shown alongside a mountain and told that we could tie up there. Look, you can see the fenders up against the mountain. There we are, tied alongside. This was a memorable time because we met these people up in this particular wooden house. They invited us to go and eat crabs, and during the evening the boys went out and caught some more in the darkness. I think by the time we'd finished we were more or less looking like crabs. Bathing was also one of the popular pastimes, and also, as you can see, sleeping. Now, quite a long way south, approaching the time when we will be leaving Norway, crossing over to Sweden. Magnificent sunsets. You'll never forget. They're exactly as you saw them. It was so clear here, when we did drop anchor, you could almost see the anchor go right down to the bottom. Magnificent seaweed was also brought aboard it, anchored in one of the small bays. This picture gives you a good idea of thousands of tiny little islands that there are. Our varnish at this time was beginning to look a little bit tatty, so we thought, as it was such a nice sunny day, very little wind, do some work. Here is another of the little villages that you find on the islands, tied up just off this little house here. Here's one of the markers that I spoke about earlier, to show you exactly where the channel is. Shows you there the route through the islands. You can see how we managed to stay inside the islands for much of the journey. Here the channel was so narrow that we had to haul the boom in order to get between them. Error of navigation would put you on the rocks in these sort of position. Things we noticed about Norway was how proud they were of their flag. Everywhere we went, you would find houses flying the national ensign outside. Many of the islands were joined by bridges. Very enjoyable part of the cruise. The hour will bring fresh joy, new interests, new excitement. Always plenty to do. We must say goodbye to Norway. Very, very close now to the end of our cruise there. Very sorry when we leave the coast. Adventures are not over by any means. I mentioned earlier we are now bound for Sweden. Most unusual day because there was absolutely no wind whatsoever during this crossing. Very, very hot. We're able to not only swim, as you can see here, and have an absolutely magnificent time right in the middle of the Skagerrak, about 25 miles from land. Also, we completed our varnishing. By the time we arrived in Sweden, the ship looked really spick and span. The Swedish ensign that's going up at the moment, as you can see, is one that we had to hurriedly put together. Later on you will see that we managed to purchase a nice new one. Now we are in Sweden. Little fishing port was quite a contrast, really, compared to Norway. Things we did notice about Sweden was that they didn't seem to fly their ensign anywhere except on their boats. You can see the new ensign. Sweden was rather different from Norway. Had much forested and of course a lot lower. And during our journey we noticed on one occasion that there was a motorboat. Somebody on it was waving and they seemed to want some help, and we went over to give them a hand, took them in tow because they'd run out of fuel, only to discover that they were scouts. We towed them back to their campsite, and this is why we are here now, because we're guests of this group. Unlike in England, they were a mixed group. After visiting our scouts, we then proceeded south, as you can see here, right the way down in between the islands again, just like in Norway, through some very narrow passages, and right the way up to Gothenburg. Very busy waterway. Felt quite a contrast to the quiet scenery of the Norwegian coast. Remember that our last major port was Stavanger. Leaving Gothenburg, we then proceeded to sail south inside the island still, and we found an island which was the most southernmost possible. It's a group of islands actually, 3 of them as you can see. We approached it in Seven Kings, but when a little way off we decided that, well, perhaps it wouldn't be safe to go in. And then somebody came out in a rowing boat and offered to pilot us in. We accepted the offer, and the gentleman said that if we didn't mind, he would take the wheel, provided we were well insured. Didn't reassure us very much, but he obviously knew what he was doing, and we were soon safely inside. And left this island to proceed further south, and were in fact making for a little island called Anholt in Denmark. For this journey we had to motor, and some of it we sailed, and there is Anholt in the distance. Very small island, as you will see, a very sandy island. Tremendous contrast compared to what we have seen, nevertheless extremely beautiful. A whole day to walk round the island. Very fortunate because the weather was still superb. Also came across these strange sort of plains, if you could call them that, on such a small island. Almost barren, with these funny little bushes all over the place. Didn't quite understand why they grew like that. Oh, we did have some fun there. Must have been jolly warm at on Anholt because I decided to go swimming too. There could be so many trees on such a sandy island. Fishing fleet were in at the time. Well undressed, we were off again. Now making our way south. It must be remembered that we were making our way south between Denmark and Sweden. Many Danish islands here. As we sailed south, called in many towns, but of course time was getting rather short now and we couldn't stay very long. We had to get south. As luck would have it, most of the time the wind was in the wrong direction. This really meant, of course, that we didn't see a lot of Denmark, not as much as we would have liked to have done. But nevertheless, it was very, very pleasant. Scenery, as you can see, is something like you might expect in England. Sunbathing had not lost its popularity. Hot days enabled the boys to lay out on the deck, enjoy themselves. See here why we had to motor. Hardly any wind at all. Look at this strange boy. We were very proud of the fish that they had caught. Perhaps you might like to have a look. Here you can see the sun going down on one side of the vessel. Most lovely effect. Another one of our famous sunsets. We're now well south. In fact, we're now on our way into Germany. So we have to find our way to the Kiel Canal in order to get back into the North Sea. The visit to Kiel was very interesting. Most of the town is new because much of it was razed to the ground during the war. However, as you can see, it could be any other town, really. Nevertheless, we enjoyed looking around the shops, some of the trinkets that people were selling on the pavement. Generally taking an interest in everything that was going on. Now came the time to enter the Kiel Canal. We didn't quite know what to expect. Thought perhaps it would be a rather dirty canal, rather boring. But in fact, it turned out to be quite the opposite. Some of the scenery we passed through was quite pretty. And of course it was very busy, and the canal was certainly well organised. See in these pictures from time to time that there is a system of lights. It is so that vessels can be stopped on bends to enable other vessels to pass in the opposite direction, very much like on a road. All big ships, as you can see. Lighting, elaborate traffic lights. Every so often these little ferries that go across the canal, and this very strange one that we saw about 2/3 of the way through, suspended from the bridge, from the railway bridge. Are of course now moving due west, getting nearer home now, but still several hundred miles to go.
Enhver må jo falle for trettstille klang, når jenta vakker og natten lys og lang. Og smiler du blikkelig, hun smelter som smør, så sving både armer og ben, hvis du bare tør. Her sommerkveldens glade kavaler, som danser.
Very busy, as you can see. Very soon we were at the other end of the canal, waiting to go through the lock. As soon as the signal was given, tied up inside the lock. We're a little apprehensive about what we would find outside, because we'd learnt that the estuary very often was quite dangerous. There are many sandbanks outside, and the weather's often very bad. But as we were fortunate, the wind was not too strong. We were able to sail quite nicely out of the lock and into the estuary. Quite know at this time how far we were going to sail. In fact, when we left the lock, we had only in mind to sail about 15 miles into Brunsbüttel. Instead, we decided to stay at sea for the night. Nice wind, proceeded on our journey westward. Tried to call in at one of the German islands called Borkum. In fact, called in for about an hour, collected fuel, and then decided that we didn't like the idea of staying there, so put to sea immediately. Continued on our way until we were in Holland. Now on the limits of our previous cruises. In fact, we felt almost at home now. Sailing was very good. Nice fresh wind coming over the bow. Vessel well heeled down. Very exciting sailing it was. Are now in fact sailing along the north of the German and Dutch Frisian Isles. Having rounded the point, we come into a place called Den Helder. Den Helder is actually the Dutch naval port, and we were here guests of the Dutch Navy Yacht Club. We took the opportunity to do a little bit of maintenance work, mainly because it was blowing so hard outside it was not safe to sail, and also we thought it would be a good idea to have a bit of a rest. It is hardly a rest though, is it?
Som en dans mor och far, da jeg glad og sorgfri var. I min barndom sto du gamle går på sletten. Her suser sletten sanger gjennom gården, og livet gikk sin jevne stille gang. For grov og strekke komme bud om våren, og lerken soler bedra mark og vann. Her så de eng og åker gi sin brøde, da våren satte hodet til en hø.
Some friends actually in Den Helder. They came on this walk with us. Later on you'll see them leaving their boat to go back to Gillingham, I think it was. Now, the